Hello and welcome to Business Daily on Trust Television, and we are set to bring factual updates your way on developments in the world of business, economy, finance, commerce, trade, and the stock market is not left out. I am your host, Christiana Amodu Otinya. Thank you for joining on the program today. First, we begin with the headlines, and we start from news from the Finance Ministry. The Finance Minister refutes budget padding allegations laid on ministries, departments, and agencies. And to the capital market now, the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, cautions fund managers against holding clients' funds and securities. We'll bring you more on those stories during the Business Roundup segment of the program. I'll take a short break. When I return, it'll be time to look at what it's like for the stock market, not just in Nigeria, but other parts of the world. Please stay. Welcome back, and thank you for still staying there with us. Now let's get straight into what's happening in the stock market. We begin from the local buzz in Nigeria, talking about the Nigeria Exchange. Now, so the Nigeria Exchange finished the week largely bullish, up 2.04%. Now, this activity we are seeing on this chart is for what the activity for trade was like, especially on Friday. Now, the benchmark all share index ended at 47,554.34, a total volume of 98.98 million shares valued at 5.52 billion naira change hands in 2,780 deals on the floor of the local buzz. Now, the equity cap, as you can see here, settled at 25.90 trillion naira. Now, for a week-on-week close, we saw the Nigerian bourse ending higher, 6.8%. That's the gain recorded on the equities market, and we saw in monetary terms 1.67 trillion naira added to the market capitalization of the local bourse in Nigeria. Let's go over now to other African bourses. We'll begin from Africa's largest exchange, talking about the JSE, Johannesburg Stock Exchange, down 0.69%, settled at 72,650. And in Ghana, we're seeing the GSE also stay largely flat, unchanged, 2,464. It's no longer news what's happening in the Ghanaian street, especially as it relates to the Ghanaian economic managers and the president and his team trying to see how the economy in Ghana can be resuscitated. We saw news come out talking about the Ghanaian government will now be buying oil with gold bars as opposed to buying with dollars, trying to shore up its foreign reserves and also strengthen the Ghanaian currency. Recall, the Ghanaian currency hit an all-time low against the dollar to become the worst performing currency in the world as the cedi against the dollar. Now let's go over to Wall Street, talking about the United States, and see what's the outlook for the market, the global market. What's the outlook for global markets like this week? Now, in the last week of November, I beg your pardon, investors will be watching more earnings report and a slew of economic releases that will give further information on the state of the consumer and the U.S. economy. So that's going to be a large focus for investors as they plan to wrap up the month of December. Now, it was really a slow week for the stock market as there were public holidays for the Thanksgiving celebration, and the market is asking itself, what are we thankful for in the year 2022? Now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 0.45%. The S&P 500 and the tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite both staying in the red there, 0.52% for Nasdaq and marginal decline for the S&P 500, there's 0.03%. Let's go over to the European Strait and see what's happening with European markets. We are also seeing markets in Europe finish largely negative, from the FTSE 100 to the CAC and the DAX in Germany. We are seeing major markets they are opening marginally lower. The CAC in France is open marginally lower, 0.01%, and the DAX in Germany is down 0.04%. The FTSE 100 in the UK is up open positive 0.14%. Now, we are seeing all the negative close we are seeing is as a result of news coming out from the Asia Pacific region. Now, there's unrest in China as regards to the zero COVID policy of President Xi Jinping, and protests are currently ongoing in that country, and that's spooking the stock market, sending jitters into the stock market. And we're seeing the stock market react to a lot of the news coming out out from China. Now, the unrest came as infections surge, prompting more local COVID controls, while a central government policy change earlier this month had raised hopes of a gradual easing in China. Let's go over to the Asia-Pacific region and see what's happening there. The Nikkei 225 now in Japan is leading losses here, down 0.42%. The Shanghai Composite is down 0.75%. And in South Korea, the Kospi is also reacting to COVID-19 information from China, down 0.21% to settle here at 2,408.27. So these markets are basically reacting to news that's coming out from China. People are saying they want these restrictions to be eased, but the Chinese government is saying they want the whole COVID-19 situation to be under control, especially after recording its first death since the month of May in 2022. Let's go over now and see what the prices are like for commodity market. What are the commodities trading like today, this morning? Now Brent crude is losing steam, as you can see here, down 3.26%, $80.90 a barrel. And guess what? This is because obviously China is the world's biggest oil importer, and with protests coming on, issues around COVID-19 restrictions, that is affecting the sentiment and affecting the mood in the oil market. Now we are seeing the oil prices hitting a low of 11 months as a result of this protest in the world's top importer of oil amid COVID-19 curbs. And we are seeing this number going down. We saw the market close for oil prices. It oscillated basically between $85 and $88 per barrel. Now we are seeing $80 per barrel as a result of these unrest. What will be the outlook? OPEC Plus, they are expected to go into a meeting on the 4th of December. Also, all of this will come into focus. The cap on Russian oil is also a focus for the oil market. Now let's move to the bullion. The yellow metal gold. Gold is at $1,754. 86 cents per barrel, down 0.07%. Now gold prices slipped as the dollar strengthened. Remember, there's an inverse relationship between the gold and the US dollar. When there's a strong dollar, we see a soft price for gold. But when we are seeing an appreciation in the price of gold, we see that the dollar becomes softer. Now for agro commodities, it's a mixed bag. We have the red here coming from wheat, $764 per metric ton, down 1.48%. And for cocoa is at $2,389, as you can see there. So we're seeing the reds are dominating here on the commodities chart. More reds as opposed to more greens on the commodities chart. Let's go over to the crypto market and see what's happening. Now we are seeing Bitcoin, Ethereum, the Binance coin, all in the negative. And guess what? This is as a result of the news coming in from China. So the market is basically reacting to this news, and we are seeing sell-off across board, and the crypto market is not left out. Interesting news for the crypto market though, and this news is coming from Nigeria. The Nigeria Securities and Exchange Commission has said it does not plan to include cryptocurrencies until regulators agree on standards that protect investors. And a lot of market watchers have aligned with the stance of the Securities and Exchange Commission in Nigeria, bearing in mind what just happened with FTX and how that sent the crypto market into a state of chaos, a state of disarray, with investors losing billions as a lot of due diligence didn't come into play. And now the Securities and Exchange Commission, headed by Lamido Yuguda, is saying that we want to protect investors and we are not keen into this yet, especially until all the regulators come on board and standards and agree on the standards that will protect investors back home in Nigeria. There's been a whole lot of frenzy as to what's going to happen to digital currency. Digital currency, is it the future of financial payment? Well, it's good to know that the SEC is taking its stance, and the stance is on the side of investors to ensure that investors are protected in the country. Those are the numbers we have to crunch for you on the program today. We'll continue to monitor the markets in coming weeks and bring you updates on what the arrows are saying. Are they going to be more of green or reds? Are we going to see the bulls dominate or the bears dominate the markets more? But before we go in on a short break, let's quickly bring bring you up to speed with the business roundup segment. We'll begin from the front of what's happening with the Ministry of Finance. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, has refuted allegations of budget padding by some ministries, departments and agencies. The minister said the federal government has taken steps to increase transparency in the budgeting process, noted that the funds in question were only wrongly captured in the budget estimates submitted to the National Assembly. Now, recall that the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management has alleged that 206.24 billion naira found its way into its budget without its knowledge. Now, going to the SEC now, the Securities and Exchange Commission has warned fund managers still in the habit of holding on to clients' funds and securities to desist from such act or face the wrath of the apex regulator. The Director General of the SEC, Lamido Yuguda, stated this at the Post-Capital Market Committee briefing in Lagos. He noted that holding onto clients' funds and securities is a clear violation of the Commission's Consolidated Rule 95. It reminded fund managers that all funds and securities of clients being managed by their firms must be vested with the custodians. And that's what we have for the business roundup segment of the program. Our focus on the program today will be on financial inclusion. We'll be looking at issues around financial inclusion in the country. How far so far? We saw that the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Financial Inclusion Committee did launch the Financial Inclusion Strategy 3.0, and that's expected to lift financial inclusion in the country to as high as 95% by the year 2024. Now, we'll be speaking with a guest, a resource person, of course, somebody that has been in the financial inclusion sector for some time now. He will be sharing perspective as to how this can be fully achieved in the country. It promises to be an insightful one. Okay, we have Emmanuel Atama now joining us. He is the CEO of the National Agency for Cooperative Financing of Nigeria. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here today.
And when we return, the conversation will continue. Please stay.
TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
That's great. It's good to see you.
Welcome back, and thank you for still staying there with us on the program. This is Business Daily, coming to you live from Trust Television, and we are about to get into the crux of the matter of the program today, talking about issues around financial inclusion. But before we kickstart the conversation with my guest on the program today, let's quickly take excerpts from the Financial Inclusion Summit that was held by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Take a listen.
In order to meet its target of 95% financial inclusion by 2024, the federal government of Nigeria has released 5 strategic policy studies, namely the Nigeria Financial Services Maps, the revised National Financial Inclusion Strategy, the National Strategy for Leveraging Agent Networks for Women's Financial Inclusion, the National FinTech Strategy, and the Payment System Vision 2025. CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele, in his remarks, stated that Nigeria's financial exclusion situation was a result of infrastructure deficiencies.
The response to the global event in 2008 was not entirely responsible for the low access to finance for the underserved in Nigeria. Infrastructural deficits like low broadband penetration, lack of a functional national identity system, and high cost of delivering financial services through bank branches to the underserved contributed to Nigeria's financial exclusion situation. As of 2008, 52.2% of Nigerian adults were financially excluded. This implied that 1 out of every 2 adults had no access to financial services in Nigeria.
The Deputy Governor of the CBN, Aisha Ahmad, speaks on closing gaps in rural areas as well as youth and gender disparities in financial inclusion and access.
People in the urban areas are more likely to have electronic banking and all of those services. We're looking at people in the rural areas. What can we do to enhance their own financial experiences? We're looking at areas like the youth. Compared to the national average, the youth have, I think, an 11% gap. So not that the youth are not included, they are included, but there's a gap and we need to fulfill that gap. Lastly, we've had an 8% gender gap, which is that on the national average, women are sort of 8% less likely to, have financial services. And it's not just to be included in terms of payments and accounts. We need to get credits to MSMEs, and a lot of small businesses are run by women.
Financial inclusion is imperative to the economic development and stability of the nation.
Welcome back there. The representative, the CBN governor and the deputy governor of the CBN, they're speaking to financial inclusion strategies put in place by the Central Bank of Nigeria. My guest is with me now. He's joining us virtually, the Chief Executive Officer, National Cooperative Financing Agency of Nigeria, Emmanuel Atama. Welcome to the program once again.
Thank you very much. It's always my pleasure being on this platform.
Thank you so much. Now, a lot has been said with regards to getting more Nigerians from being financially excluded to become included in the finance bracket. Now, the CBN governor just said in that except we listen to that 1 in 2 adults are excluded financially. I want you to give me an assessment of the financial inclusion drive so far. How would you say that Nigeria has fared?
I think CFAN being part of the financial inclusion drive, particularly being part of the working committee that designed products for assessment, I can say that we have done very well, considering where we are coming from and considering the fact that we have a lot of infrastructural challenge, COVID that came in, but so far so good. I think a lot has been done. A lot has been done around the payment system. A lot has been done around outreach with respect to ease of access to financial inclusion products. What is left now is having look at where we are coming from. I don't think that it will be more tedious than before, and that is right. And that is why the central bank has brought in organizations like ours that are reaching down to the grassroots to make sure that be able to reach out to the people down to the grassroots, not just at the urban areas. And I think one of the major achievements is SANEF, which has to do with bringing up agents. And these agents, if you look around the country, every nooks and cranny, you can see the agents around. These agents very, very easy. They are making things very, very easy for people. Unlike before, when you want to deposit, you want to withdraw, you want to transact, you have to wait for the conventional banking time to go and do it, or you go to the ATM, you get disappointed. Now it's completely business. So when you look around every nook and cranny of this country, you see that we have agents. These agents are properly set up. They are on the map. As reported earlier, we already have a map, and we can see every operator from wherever they are in the country. So far, so good. We have done very well with respect to the effort put in place by various stakeholders, and we are hoping and working assiduously to make sure that the target of reaching 95% by the year 2024 will be a resulting victory.
I
That is the much I can say about that.
I want to get your thoughts, basically, speaking about 95% target by 2024, because then again, when you look at it, time is one thing that flies very, very fast. The moment we get into 2023, the year 2024 is beckoning, because I was reading through articles on financial inclusion, and some experts and those who monitor the financial space especially have said that this percentage, this peg that has been put down seems to be a tall order, because there are still challenges around financial inclusion, especially in the rural areas, because most times we gather, stakeholders gather and say, we want to do this, we want to do that, but the bane then comes in the implementation process. Can you speak to that?
Yes, if you look at where we are coming from, actually you will see that it's a tall order, but it is very, very simple to achieve, given the fact that over the time we have looked at the inherent inhibition to the process. Like earlier before now, what we have was you must have BVN before you'll be counted as included. But you discovered today that we have various tiers of inclusion. And we have the one that is tier 1. What you just need is just your passport and your phone number, and you are included. So what we are talking about is that how many are on the financial inclusion highway? How many are captured by the banks? So we believe that reducing the requirement to just phone number and passport will go a long way to bring a lot of people on board. That is one side of it. And again, we are also looking at those that are in the informal sector. As I speak with you, for those of us that are managing those that are within the informal sector for some time now, we have been meeting, and even Wednesday this week, we shall be meeting. We are now working with groups called the VSLAs, the Village Savings and Loans Associations. These group of people are purely informal sector. And as I speak with you, we have a lot of them that are out there that are requiring these services. And for the fact that we have development organizations, international organizations that are working with this group down now, is just to polish them, leverage on the first year of financial inclusion, which is the tier 1 account, and bring them on this. Then we can continue to uptake them, continue to increase their connection until they reach the highest. I believe that just the phone number and the photograph is enough to bring a very good number of Nigerians on board the same financial inclusion. The number we're talking about is just the number that have BVN. But by the time we start going below the BVN, making sure that people are captured, then left for bringing them on the BVN, then you discover that reaching that task will be very, very smooth and easy. And then for the fact that
as a final question, I want you to speak to, now you are the head of a crucial agency in the financial inclusion gap. Now talking about the National Cooperative Financing Agency of Nigeria. I want you to tell me what it is like, especially in that space, because a lot of Nigerians key into cooperatives to ensure that they are able to go about their daily activities and also make ends meet. Some will say, oh, I'm in a group of 10, we do ajo, we do osusu, and a lot of people engage in these things. How much impact has it had on that financial inclusion drive? In 1 minute, please.
Yes, a lot of financial inclusion, and it becomes very much easy because these people are in group. One after the other will not be quite easy. Within the cooperative space alone in Nigeria, we're over 30. And you can see that by the time we throw in this number into,
okay,
and every day people are forming cooperative one place or the other.
Okay.
So I done so far, bringing the people on board, and with the necessary, even from our side, we already have a technology called the Unified Cooperative Platform.
Okay, thank you. Emmanuel Atama there, speaking to issues around financial inclusion. Thank you for taking our time to come on the program to speak to deepening financial inclusion in Nigeria. And we hope that the 95% peg that has been set aside will be achieved to help bring about more value to the Nigerian economy. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much.
That's where we draw the curtains for Business Daily today. Don't forget you can catch up on all our programs and news updates on our social media platforms. Trust us to bring you the news as they break. I am Christiana Amodu Otinya. Thank you for investing your time with me on the program and continue to stay safe.